and welcome to the in-depth series of Drishti IAS. My name is Pooja Dwivedi. You must be reading about constitutional bench a lot these days. Since the split judgment on the hijab ban case came into being, we are listening to this word, constitutional bench. Even though we are seeing that pendency is there with respect to many important interpretation of the laws, which is the duty of the Supreme Court first and foremost. What is a constitutional bench? You must know about it. Apart from that, many other aspects from the perspective of prelims and from the perspective of GS mains paper second. Moving ahead, let us talk about it. So what is a constitutional bench? When is it set up? What is the composition? Example of significant constitutional benches. Is there a need of more benches? As well as pendency in the constitution bench cases, the reasons and the questions. So filtered out information will come at the board with respect to this, because of course important aspects of it is going to be discussed. What is a constitution bench? Constitution bench is a bench which consists of 5 or more judges of the Supreme Court, 5 or more, and it decides a case which is based on the interpretation of the Constitution. As not the myriad cases are the main concern of the Supreme Court, but the interpretation of the Constitution is the main job of Supreme Court of India, as it is the upholder of the Constitution. These are temporary in nature. Once the judgment has been passed, it gets dissolved. So, as you can see, it is ad hoc. And when is it set up? First of all, we have to understand that the Chief Justice of India is the one who sets up the constitution benches. And if we talk about the capital punishment procedure, Chief Justice of India, UU Lalit, said that whenever the Supreme Court is talking about a case with respect to capital punishment, a constitution bench must be set up. And as according to Article 145 Clause 3 of the Constitution, there is a mandate to set up this. According to the rules of the court, the setting of the constitution bench is definited matter according to this article, and it ensures that minimum of 5 judges, they need to sit to decide a case which is involving a substantial question of law as to the interpretation of the Constitution, or for hearing any reference under Article 143, which is precedence necessity to get advice from the Supreme Court. But the problem is that who gets to decide what is substantial question of law? Okay, first that. And what is the interpretation of Constitution? How is to be done? This is the main issue. Moving ahead, if we talk about the reasons, generally what happens? Why is it set? When is it set up? The reason. When a division bench gives split judgment, we have talked about split judgment in detail. I will tell you about it. In the description box, I will set up the link for you. Division bench is basically a bench of 2 or 3 judges, and these are known as division bench. So sometimes it can happen that you might see that 2 judges are not being able to see eye to eye on a particular matter. So they give differing judgments. And when they do so, it is known as a split judgment. If a 3-judge bench delivers a judgment that is different from the judgment delivered by the previous 3-judge bench, then on the same issue also, we could get a constitution bench. And if we have to know that which justice has been in the most number of constitution benches, it's the upcoming Chief Justice of India, Justice D.Y. Chandrachud. He has been in 21 constitution benches, and then he is followed by Justice A.M. Khanwilkar and then Justice Ashok Bhushan with 15 and 10 respectively. Now, another very important aspect of this particular thing is that even if a constitution bench decides a case and it is again challenged, then a larger bench can overrule the judgment. Okay. So all these are very important for you to know. Now the composition is such that a constitution bench consists of minimum, this is the minimum, okay, minimum of 5 judges are to be there, and the number can go on to add up to number 7, 9 and so on. Chief Justice of India, he is the master of the roster. So he or she decides which cases will be heard by the bench, constitution bench, what are the number of judges they are going to be on the bench, and composition as well. But it is not binding on the CJI to be a part of the Constitution bench. Remember that. All right. Moving ahead, if we talk about the important cases which have been decided by Constitution benches, how can we forget about Maneka Gandhi versus Union of India in 1977, in which the passport of Maneka Gandhi was not being returned by the center, in which the 7-judge bench expanded the scope of Article 21, saying that personal liberties is of the widest amplitude, and that covers a variety of rights which can go to constitute the personal liberty of man. Then, of course, the privacy case, Justice K.S. Puttaswamy versus Union of India, who in 2012 challenged the Aadhaar. So for that, in 2017, a 9-judge bench recognized the right to privacy as one guaranteed by the Constitution of India, that is under Article 21. Moving ahead, if we talk about other important cases, it's not that constitutional judgments are provided only by the Constitution bench. How am I telling you? In 2013, in the Suresh Kumar Kaushal versus Nas Foundation case, this was heard by division bench of the Supreme Court. So they decriminalized homosexuality. Later on, a 5-judge bench unanimously struck down Section 377. The largest ever Constitution bench was formed in the Keshavananda Bharti case, and this was of 13 judges. Of course, the most important structure for the Constitution, that is the basic structure of the Constitution, it was upheld, or you can say created, in this particular judgment only, and then it was headed by the Chief Justice of India, S.N. Sikri. So these are the preliminary facts. Moving ahead, if we talk about why do we need such more benches, because one thing that we have to understand, that the number of such benches, they have dropped from a yearly average of 134 cases in the 1960s to an average of 6.4 cases per year in the last half of the 2000s. So it is for sure that pendency and backlogs are occurring, and Constitution benches have become less frequent. We are seeing that these benches are not being formulated a lot. Judgments have become longer. Whatever judgments are there, these have become longer and arduous. Apart from that, the judgments recently are more prone to split decisions. If division benches are formulated, not a lot of opinion can be garnered through those division benches, and split judgments occur. And this is becoming increasingly delayed. More and more backlogs are occurring. It has become increasingly difficult to even determine who the winning party is. So these are the needs, different factors for such need. Now it risks falling behind on its core duty as the primary interpreter of the Constitution, which I have already told you. That one thing that we have to understand over here, that myriad cases are not the job of the Supreme Court. These are the jobs of the tribunals, district courts and high courts, obviously. But the main job of the Supreme Court is to uphold the Constitution, to clear the lines between the whatever blurred lines are there, to clear it out, so that more and more help can be given to lower courts to decide that case then and there, and also to help the other parties not to be, lingering in this particular litigation challenges. Once it is cleared for both the parties, then why would they come to the Supreme Court? Now, while 2 Constitution benches were set up in 2021, none were formed in during the tenure of CJI N.V. Ramana. That spanned 1 year. His tenure spanned almost 1 year, but none of the Constitution benches were formed. Around 490 Constitution bench matters were pending before the Supreme Court. These are very important matters such as the abrogation of Article 370, electoral bonds, constitutional validity of UAP amendment. Sabrimala review petition is also pending. So when these are pending, who will take the responsibility of the constant havoc it is wreaking in the current scenario? As of October 1st, 488 Constitution benches matters are pending. 54 cases are directly related with the question, and the attached ones are 434. That means 54 are the main ones, and in connection to that are 434. This is leading to more and more backlog. 338 matters are pending before 5-judge bench, in which 15 7-judge are there, and 135 9-judge benches cases are pending. So you see, huge number of cases are pending. First of all, although it is seen that the Supreme Court is solving these constitutional interpretation cases, but it is not able to keep up with the constant inflow of new cases. So first that. And the increase in the number of connected matters is the problem. The main case is there, but the connected question cases are also there. So that is why addition, continuous addition and inflow is going to be there. If we are talking about the upcoming days, until and unless matters are decided accordingly in the stipulated time period, more constitution benches are needed. That is the need. Moving ahead, let us talk about previous year's question. You have to solve this question, and I will also take the names of those who have answered my last question. We adopted parliamentary democracy based on the British model. But how does our model differ from that model as regards legislation? The British Parliament is supreme or sovereign, but in India, the power of the Parliament to legislate is limited. In India, matters related to the constitutionality of amendment of an act of the Parliament are referred to the Constitution Bench by the Supreme Court. So you have to answer it correctly, and I will take the names of those who have answered my last question correctly, okay? So stay with me. If you have not answered it, you can keep on moving. Many of you have answered it correctly. Now let me take the names of those. Raghuram Rajan was the correct answer. Anshika, Riya, Divyani, Jalajakshi, Nibha, Simi, Diana, Sagar, Ashish, Sunil, Sarla, Raju, Shrishti, Vineet, Arun, Himanshu, and Meenu has answered it correctly. They all have answered it correctly. Aarti, then Bright Futures, Rainitish, then Sthi Pragya, also Varsha, Anuj, Rohit, Tushita, Arishmita, then Munna Kumar, Somnath, Kuruvamali, Sumya, and Vidyashri, Adarsh, Faizan, then Saurav, Shruti, Simran, also Mr. DJ, then Sharwan, Nima Kumari, Aditya, Tushar, and Aman. Thank you so much for answering the last question. Answer this as well. I will take your names again. And thank you so much for watching.